All right, the odds for the three Canadian teams in the Eastern Conference to make the postseason presented by FanDuel. Toronto the favorite, the Senators a slight underdog to miss the postseason for the 8th straight time. The Montreal Canadiens, in the eyes of FanDuel, are facing an uphill battle to make the postseason.
It's time for Hey, I'm Talking Here with Frankie Corrado.
It's the coolest sunglasses in Canadian TV. Frankie, you know, I said...
It gets better and better, man.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love that. So good. That intro to your segment might be the greatest thing we've ever done on this show. Frankie, Montreal Canadiens, I mentioned it. Odds makers still skeptical, still maybe feel this team is in rebuilding mode, but they go out and they pick up Patrik Laine in one of the most interesting acquisitions of the offseason right off the top. When you heard about it and now that you've had a little time to digest it, do you like the fit?
Yeah, I liked it when it happened, Jay, and I still like it to this day. And I think it's not something that needs to work right away. Like, this doesn't have to be a quick fix, a quick Band-Aid. It doesn't have to work overnight. It almost has to be like a 2-year plan for Patrik Laine, where step one is being healthy. Like, that's something he just hasn't been for quite a while now. And then if he is healthy, you know, how much does Marty St. Louis get his hands on this guy, and how different of a game can he play? He doesn't have to change his game. He just has to be Patrik Laine, the gifted goal scorer, who maybe moves his feet a little bit more and looks a little bit engaged in the game. And if that's the case, and he shows that he can play, he can be a part of this Montreal Canadiens program moving forward and be a part of what they're trying to build. So I kind of see it as almost like a 2-year audition for Patrik Laine, where he can show something and be a part of a really fun, exciting group of players.
In Toronto, Brad Treliving improved the defense significantly. Chris Tanev, Oliver Ekman-Larsson comes over from the Cup champs in Florida. It's in goal that's the question mark. You have the off-injured Joseph Woll, you have the often-injured Matt Murray, and then you have the newly acquired Anthony Stolarz, also from the Cup champs. How do you see that three-person goaltending battle playing out, Frank?
Okay, let's just assume, Jay, that it was going to be a tandem of Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. And let's say that both those guys stayed healthy. So in a perfect world, how many starts does that look like for Joseph Woll? Is it somewhere in that 45 to 50 starts ranged, and then Anthony Stolarz is picking up the rest? Well, that would be the most starts of Woll's career. It would be the most starts of Stolarz's career. And that's not taking into account that, you know, health hasn't exactly been on the side of Joseph Woll as his early career has gone on. So there's definitely a question mark when it comes to the health. And if they're both healthy, there probably is a little bit of a question mark as far as how do they handle the workload being that high for the first time in both their careers.
As for the Ottawa Senators, we're getting close to a decade of no playoff hockey in the nation's capital, Frankie. My question for you is, does adding Linus Ullmark, Michael Amadio, David Perron, one of my favorites, Nick Cousins, Nick Jensen, and a new head coach in Travis Green, do all those things together in your mind, Frankie, equal playoffs for the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, if you ask it flat out like that, it's not wrong to say yes. The problem is we've been anointing the Ottawa Senators as this playoff team in waiting the last few years, and we could not have been more wrong. So I think it's right on the case of the Ottawa Senators to say, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic about this group because everything that this new management group did, they did with a purpose. They added a goaltender who's won a Vezina. They brought in a veteran right-handed shot on defense. They brought in some Stanley Cup champions. They brought in some veteran players. They brought in some guys that can kind of supplement, you know, what Brady Tkachuk does on a night-to-night basis. Like, everything makes sense for the Ottawa Senators, not to mention a coach that's really good at, you know, finding ways to get the most out of his players, is going to have, you know, structure with that team, which was such a big buzzword for such a long time. But, like, the way things have gone with Ottawa, I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic, but not ready to anoint them as a surefire playoff team just yet. They're going to have to prove it because we've given them the benefit of the doubt the last few years, and we've been proven wrong on their part.
You mentioned Brady Tkachuk. He and his wife welcomed a baby boy this week. So maybe that's another incentive for Brady to finally get into the postseason where he's desperately wanted to be for so long. Training camps open on Thursday. It's exciting. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to chatting with this guy all through the season. Frankie, thanks for this.